Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Valeria if you're new here. I wanted to catch you up today on something I accomplished recently, which was publishing my first bilingual children's book. This is a bilingual children's book called Grandma's Magic Garden, or El Jardín Encantado de mi Abuela. It is inspired by my grandma Tita and all the times that we grew up playing in her garden. She would invent all kinds of stories and games to keep myself, my sisters, all my cousins entertained. And they're truly some of my favorite childhood memories, so I wanted to write a book dedicated to her, inspired by that time, and really just like sparking imagination and childlike wonder in nature and all the little things that sometimes we as adults now tend to overlook. Tita's also the only grandparent that I have left right now, and so to be able to publish this while she's still here was really a huge blessing. I actually didn't tell her I wrote this book until it was actually published, so I got to surprise her. If you want to see a real-time look at how I wrote and published this book, you can watch my little YouTube shorts series on this, but I'll also walk through it here in this video. So basically, I completed the first draft of my story in July of 2025 in my notebook, and I totaled to at the very end was 28 pages. I also nailed down my target audience, which was ages 3 to 5. Of course, you can read to kids much earlier than that, but I kind of wanted to have a general idea of who would be reading my book. Later, when I felt I had a strong version of the book, I transferred the story onto my laptop, and then I began a long phase of drafting and editing and revising. Dos patos. Juegan ajedrez. Two ducks play chess by the river. That's funny. ¿Qué puede ser? Tres hormigas saltan la cuerda. I made so many changes during this process, some of which ended up in the final book, but then getting input from people I trusted, like my mom, who was a Spanish teacher, helping me make sure I had all the right acentos in the Spanish translations, some little character changes here and there, and then also just making sure, again, that the vocabulary was helpful to young kids, but still playful and whimsical and fun. I also went to libraries and bookshops to research other children's books, and I took note of things like length, storylines, illustrations, and patterns. And this was really helpful because one thing that I added in later that wasn't in my initial draft was repetition. So for language learning in particular, this can be helpful. I added a repeating question throughout the book that keeps little readers engaged and encourages them to keep exploring Grandma's garden in this book. I also wanted to include numbers and location words on top of, next to, near, action words like play, dance, paint, look, and plenty of nature vocabulary, as that is one of the major themes of this book. And after getting the final draft and structure of my book, I wrote accompanying illustration descriptions for each page of what I wanted the story to look like. After finding my illustrator, Elisa Moreno, which I'll share more on how I connected with her later, but I signed a illustration contract ensuring that I own the commercial rights to the illustrations. We began our collaboration process with me sending her my manuscript, illustration descriptions, and a mood board I put together that included the style I was aiming for. So I wanted it to be colorful but calming, cozy and nostalgic with lots of emphasis on nature. And I included photos of my grandma and myself in the mood board for reference. When Elisa's initial designs came, I was so excited. That made the whole project feel really real, was when I saw those first designs. She'd work on a few pages at a time, always ensuring that the next batch of illustrations incorporated any feedback from prior pages. And she worked on the interior of the book first, saving the front and back cover for last because they would incorporate elements from throughout the book. And the very last step was her coloring everything. So the last review for me was to just make sure I liked all the colors, that everything looked just the way I wanted and had imagined, and we did get to that. It's so colorful and beautiful with such a warm like paintbrush finish that I really adore. So I'm very happy with the art that Elisa put together, and she really brought my book to life, which I'm so grateful for. So the whole publishing process took about 6 or 7 months, from finishing my draft to getting it like physically in my hands, which is pretty quick, I think, just because I self-published it through Amazon. So I didn't go through a traditional publishing company and like send it off and hope for someone to respond and want to take this project on. I really just wanted to accomplish it and do it myself and make it a reality without relying on an external publishing company to take a chance on me. I wasn't sure how long that would even take. The hardest part of getting this book published was the actual Amazon KDP formatting process. So I watched a lot of tutorials on how to format this book digitally so that it could print just how I wanted it. I found an incredibly helpful YouTube video, which I can link below if anybody else is trying to publish books on KDP. Once I got the final images from the illustrator that I was happy with, then all those images I formatted, which means that I had the images and I placed the text on it and made sure that it was all even, that there was no bleeding through each page or anything that was cut off. And it sounds simple, but it is a little bit more technical. But I ended up formatting that on Canva Pro and then uploading it into Amazon KDP. I also bought my own ISBN number, which is here. Every book has an ISBN, which is a unique identifier for your book. Purchasing my own ISBN allows me to sell it in other places. So I can sell it in local bookshops, in stores. And so I highly recommend doing that as well, and I can link below where I bought my ISBN. And yeah, that was my main cost, was the illustrator and my ISBN. The cool thing about Amazon KDP and publishing through there is that there is no upfront cost. What it costs you is basically Amazon takes a cut of every book sold. For me, I don't mind because this is not my main source of income. It's also really nice because they handle all the printing and shipping, which I think is awesome. You can order this and get it right to your door. You can send it to people, and I've had a great experience with the print quality. That's another benefit for me living in an apartment, is that I don't have to have a huge stock of books. I do have some, and Amazon lets you order author copies for a reduced fee. So I do have a stock of books that I have so that I can resell to bookshops and things like that. But for the most part, I don't have to keep huge inventory because Amazon prints and sells them as they get ordered. And then every month I get like a royalty check deposit based on the amount of books I've sold that month, minus Amazon's cut, of course. But I've had a great experience on there. I highly recommend it. I feel like it opens the doors for independent authors. If anyone has questions about Amazon KDP or publishing a book, I'm more than happy to answer if you leave your question in the comments. But just a little bit of backstory on why I wanted to do this. This has actually been a lifelong dream of mine to publish a book, specifically a children's book, just because I grew up a huge bookworm. Like at a very young age, I was reading all the time. And part of that was because my mom was the librarian at my elementary school. So by default, I was in the library every morning before school and every day after. Reading at a very young age truly impacted like who I am today, and it really opened my mind and just made me so aware of how anything was possible and how big the world is and how much there is to learn. And yeah, it was always a dream of mine to publish a book and see my name on a book. I remember having that thought really young, at how cool it would be to like go to a library like this and pull a book and see my name. And now I can do that, which is just so crazy. It still feels real when I hold the book in person, when I go see it like in a store or in a bookshop. It's just really awesome. I can't explain how much joy it brings me, and like seeing all the colorful illustrations. It feels like it is a dream come true. It doesn't feel like it is a dream come true. So I wrote this book in July of 2025, that's when I finished the draft. And the reason I remember is because we were having horrible torrential downpours here in Austin. Nobody was leaving their place.
there was a flood watch. I couldn't see my friends. I could only like FaceTime my family, and I just remember feeling really alone and sad, to be honest. I was also in a place where I was just feeling really stuck in my life. I was feeling stuck in my job. I wasn't happy there anymore. I was feeling stuck in my pursuit of a relationship. I had just kind of gotten out of a relationship that wasn't very long, but I was hoping would be something meaningful. And when it wasn't, I just remember feeling really disappointed and down, and just feeling like bummed out that I kept being in this cycle of like, I moved to Austin almost 5 years. At that point, it had been almost 5 years since I moved. And I'm like, damn, I'm still in this job. I'm still single. Like, I'm still feeling stuck. That's the only way that I could explain it. And I hadn't traveled in a little bit, and that always makes me feel stuck when I haven't traveled. And after I finished this draft, it sparked a lot of positive change in my life, which I think I needed. While I was feeling stuck and down, the only things that were bringing me joy at the time were books and my family. Being able to escape into books, that was like my source of entertainment and joy and romance and like imagination, and then also like quality time with my family and friends. Those were the only things that were bringing me joy at the time, apart from just like being alive and happy to be alive. And you know, my faith, obviously, like I don't want to sound ungrateful or like I was depressed or anything horrible. It was just feeling stuck. That's like the best way that I could describe it. During that gloomy weekend, I wanted to like read and annotate some books that I hadn't read in a long time, and I actually did that for the vlog, which this YouTube channel has been another thing that has brought me so much joy. And I reread The Alchemist because I hadn't read this since high school, and I feel like in high school I didn't really enjoy it. It went completely over my head, and I was like, you know what, let me pick this up and see how I like it now that my frontal lobe is developed. The message of the book is that the universe will conspire to help you achieve your dream if you pursue it. And it also talks about how everyone has a dream, and especially as a child, it's easier to dream big and not fear pursuing your dream. But as you get older, it's easier and sometimes even natural to set the dream aside, forget about it, think about what's realistic. And it might always be in the back of your head. And this book actually says that sometimes like that whisper gets softer and softer the older you get, because it doesn't want to hurt you knowing that you're not going to pursue your dream. And I was just so moved by this at that time where I was feeling stuck and reminded of this dream that I had put to the side and completely abandoned. And you know, I have pursued my writing always in a lot of different ways in my life. Like I've never stopped journaling. I've always had a blog. I still, you know, I had always written little ideas for children's books, but I had never even finished a complete draft. And so rereading this book and certain things that I annotated here really inspired me to be like, okay, I'm having a gloomy weekend where I'm literally locked in my apartment. I can't leave. Like, let's use this opportunity to at least try to accomplish a lifelong dream of mine that I've kind of set to the side. Like, even if I don't publish it at this point, is what I was telling myself. Like, even if I don't publish it, just finish a draft. Like, you owe yourself that much. And I want to read some things I underlined that really inspired me to do just that. So it says, everyone when they're young knows what their personal legend is. At that point in their lives, everything is clear and everything is possible. They're not afraid to dream and to yearn for everything they would like to see happen to them in their lives. But as time passes, a mysterious force begins to convince them that it will be impossible for them to realize their personal legend. I don't know if everyone relates to this, but I truly do feel like how it says here, everyone when they're young knows what their personal legend is. I don't know why, but I was always at a very young age writing all the time, like writing everything. I've had journals since I'm literally 5 years old where everything is misspelled, and little snippets where I would like go to my sisters and interview them about their day and write it down. And I would write stories, literally like small children's stories and things like that. Some part of me always knew that my personal legend was to write and tell stories in some capacity. And I have done that, and I do feel proud of like having a blog for over 10 years now that I've literally just maintained for myself. Like, I don't do it to be an influencer or have like hundreds of thousands of subscribers to the blog. I don't even really monetize it. Like, that is my passion and my hobby and something I do that fulfills myself creatively. Another thing it says here that I feel like is very true, it says, when I have been truly searching for my treasure. I've discovered things along the way that I never would have seen had I not had the courage to try things that seemed impossible. Every second of the search is an encounter with God. And I do think this is true, that even in your pursuit of the dream, new paths start to unfold as you take those steps, and you meet people you would have never met. You go to places you may not have gone to. I think it just like alters the path of your life. I know that sounds dramatic, but I truly believe that like when you accomplish one thing or pursue something, things start to unfold in your life, whether or not you realize them. One last thing I'll mention in here, because I found it to be really uncanny, was that I can't find my annotation on it, but I don't know if they refer to it as like beginner's luck, something like that, where like the universe will give you a sign, like a reward, when you take the first step of your dream. It'll give you a reward to encourage you to keep going. And when I finished my first draft, then literally the next day I opened my Instagram, and there's a coffee shop here in Austin called Mañana, and the first post I see when I open my Instagram is story time with a bilingual author at Mañana downtown. I was like, no way, I'm trying to write a bilingual children's book. Like, let me contact this local author and see if I can buy her coffee and learn about her publishing experience. You can think of it as coincidence. For me, I truly feel like it was the universe or God or whatever you believe in telling me to keep going, and that this was something that I should pursue. And so that's what I did. I went and I met Nena Kier for a coffee. She's also a Mexican author based here in Austin. She was so nice, so encouraging. Any questions I had, I could contact her with. She also recommended me her illustrator, Elisa Moreno, who ended up illustrating my book. Elisa is a Mexican illustrator based in Mexico City, and she has illustrated many children's books and 2 of Nena Kier's children's books. So that was like another door opened for me in this publishing process, was meeting Nena. Then Nena introduced me to this illustrator, and that just kind of got the ball rolling. I was like, okay, I know an illustrator that I love now. I have an author friend who I can ask questions. I'm gonna make use of this draft. I'm gonna edit it. I'm gonna send it to my close friends and family. And that kind of got the ball rolling for me. I was like, I'm gonna make this happen. I do think I would do it again if I write another book, which I have ideas for. But right now I really want to focus this year on just truly celebrating this book and getting it in as much shops as possible. So some things I've done this year, I've gotten into Mañana downtown, which was full circle for me because that's where I met Nena Kier. And it's been so incredible because this week I'm actually fulfilling my 3rd order with them. The first one was for 12 books and then for 10 books, and they've all sold out like month over month. So this will be my 3rd month fulfilling an order for them. And it's just literally mind-blowing to me that there are families that have my book in their homes, like for their kids. I just think it's so crazy. Now I'm on my 3rd order with them. Hopefully I get to continue if they keep selling. So if you're in Austin, you can find my book there, Mañana Coffee Downtown. It's also in the Austin Public Library gift shop. It's in Libra Books and Book People as well. I also was able to go to my friend's sister's Montessori class and read the story to her kids and talk to them about the publishing process, which is really fun, and they asked a lot of sweet questions and were really excited. I also threw a book launch party to celebrate the book. I just felt like I wanted to do something special, being that it's my first book that I've published and that I've had so much amazing support from the women in my life. So my mom and my aunts and all my girlfriends have been such huge supporters, like sharing the book with their friends, buying it for their nieces and nephews. And I really wanted to like gather everyone and just have a little party and celebrate. So I rented a place on Pier Space, which I highly recommend. It's like Airbnb, but for events. So I had this house for a couple hours. I decorated it. I catered Cabo Bobs. I had a bartender come and make drinks, and I made little custom drinks inspired by the book. I also had a little build your own bouquet station so that the girls could cut up different flowers and design their own little bouquets. I had a station where you could write a letter to your grandma, just kind of another nod to the book and my love for Tita. You know, whether or not everyone's grandma is here with us, I think it's just nice to remember them and think about the ways that they've inspired our lives and impacted us. And yeah, we just had a great time. I love hosting, I love throwing parties, so for me, like, any excuse I have to bring people together and have a cute party. And so this was the perfect occasion to do that. I think the rest of the year I just want to continue going to little bookstores, shops that might be interested in selling the book. I would love to do more readings at elementary schools and talk to kids about the book writing and publishing process and inspire other little bookworms out there that may have a dream like I did to publish a book, and just show them that it is possible. Getting pictures and videos of like kids reading the book makes me so happy, knowing that hopefully they'll be learning some Spanish, but also sparking some creativity and imagination, which is what I'm all about. The message of my book is that there's magic everywhere. You just have to remember to look. And that's something that is so easy for us as adults to forget, but kids are so aware of it. Like, they're in wonder and curiosity of everything. So I would just encourage you as well to connect with that childlike wonder, to look for the magic and the positive in everything that you see and everywhere that you go. Life is so much better when you approach it with a sense of childlike wonder and joy, even more so when you're pursuing your dreams and are surrounded by the people that you care about. So that's about my book. I'll leave a link below. And if you have any questions about the publishing process, please let me know. I would love to chat with you. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.